Hey there, welcome back to another video. Just like last time, my name is Nick. Let's get into it. Got my notes right here, like always, this time for my top 5 NHL predictions for the 2025-26 season. I did a video similar to this at the beginning of the football year, and that was my top 5 NFL predictions. This one is not going to be focused on one specific position of player. This is just going to be like kind of overall for the league type deal. So, without further ado, let's get into it. My first prediction for the 25-26 season is I think we're going to see a return of the Nashville Predators to the Stanley Cup playoffs. Last year, they made a pretty big splash in free agency, bringing in Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos, and neither player really lived up to that first year expectation I think Nashville had for them. Marchessault played 78 games last year, had 21 goals, 35 assists for 56 points, and Steven Stamkos played all 82 games last season, had 27 goals, 26 assists for 53 points. Uh, it wasn't just them that had a rough go last year in Nashville. Nashville as a team played to a record of 30 wins, 44 losses, and 8 overtime losses. And that only got them 7th out of 8 teams in the Central Division standings and 14th out of 16 teams in the Western Conference standings. So overall, they just didn't have a great year, especially considering that in 23-24, they had a record of 47 wins, 30 losses, and 5 overtime losses. So they actually lost 17 more games last year than they did the year before that. Excuse me. One player that they should really hope has a big bounce back from last year is UC Saros in net. He had played. This was his first year in that new 8-year extension that he had signed, and he only had a record of 20 wins, 31 losses, 6 overtime losses. So he lost 37 of his games that he played, which was 58. Not a great win to play ratio. I would really, if I were the Predators or Barry Trotz, I would really like to see more return on that money for his contract that he just got. But so bringing in Marchessault and Stamkos kind of solidified Nashville as one of the older teams in the league. When you look at their core, they have Ryan O'Reilly, who made it to the Stanley Cup Finals in 2019. Marchessault, who made it in 2018 and in 2023. So that's 2 runs for him, both winning the Stanley Cup. You have Steven Stamkos, who made it 3 straight years, winning 2 straight cups with the Lightning. And then again in, I forget what year it was, back in like the 2010s with Tampa. And then Roman Josi and UC Saros, both on Nashville's team that made it to the finals in 2017. So they have a veteran core of guys that all have this experience with deep playoff runs. I think they should kind of use that as motivation to be like, hey, younger guys, get them going. Be like, this is possible. So I think it's just a matter of getting everybody to mesh and on the same page at the same time. But I think they'll be able to pull it around this year. Number 2 on my list of predictions is I think Connor McDavid will have a career year this year. And, thinking about it, you think the best player in the world, or one of the best players in the world, is going to have a career year. Hear me out. Connor McDavid is in the last year of his 8-year contract. Like, historically, players have been known to go off in their years where their contract is up as kind of a way of like, hey, this is how much I could actually be worth, getting this many points. So Connor McDavid is in the last year of his 8-year contract year, right? Last season, he played 67 games, had 26 goals, 74 assists for 100 points. His best year in the NHL was in 2022-2023. He played all 82 games that season, 64 goals, 89 assists for 153 points. If he could play all 82 games this season, I don't see why he couldn't get anywhere from 150, 160, 65 points. I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility for him. Like I said, one of the best players, if not the best player in the world, one of the best players in the world. So I think it's just a matter of getting going on the like he's not going to have a hard time getting going on the season, but just I don't know. He's going to be 29 in January. I don't know if I said that already, but I think he's going to have one of those like I got to prove something type seasons. And yeah, I think that's going to lead to him 160 easily. And then with his new contract, it's just going to be is he re-signing in Edmonton? Does he re-sign if they don't win the cup? I don't know. That's not my prediction though. My third prediction, I think that a team will miss the playoffs because of an injury suffered at the Olympics. This is the first time, going by like Olympic years, this is the first time in 12 years that the NHL will be at the Olympics. And I think part of it has to do with in Sochi, John Tavares suffered a torn MCL and a torn meniscus. And I, that didn't directly result in the Islanders missing the playoffs that year because they were pretty low down. But having your star player not in your lineup because of an injury he suffered not playing for you isn't great feeling to the owners, I'd have to imagine. But yeah, I just I couldn't I could see it because it happened last year. Matthew Tkachuk in the Four Nations tournament ended up doing some serious damage. I think he had a torn labrum or something, and he continued the rest of the season all the way through the Stanley Cup Finals. But now he's out till December, maybe early January, recovering from the surgery that he got to repair that, especially after he kept playing. So I think that was part of the reason that the owners didn't want to send the players to the Olympics. And unfortunately, I think it's going to prove them right that their players are or could be getting injured and they're not seeing the results of that. So you never want to see anybody get injured. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not wishing injury upon somebody. I'm just saying I think there will be a team that is affected because of it. My fourth prediction, I think this will be the first time since 2019 that a Florida team is not representing the East out of, or representing the East in the Stanley Cup Finals. Uh, yes, since 2019, the only two teams out of the East to make the Stanley Cup Finals are the Tampa Bay Lightning and the Florida Panthers. I said since 2019, like 2019 was the last year that a team other than them, because it was the Boston Bruins versus the St. Louis Blues. But yes, I think this will be the first time neither of those teams represent in the 2020s. Last year I had the Hurricanes. I would like to think that maybe the Hurricanes could finally get over that hump that is the Florida Panthers, but honestly, they're not impressing me. So who would it be if it's not them? These two teams have played a lot of extra hockey since 2020. The Florida Panthers have played 88 playoff games, which is just 6 more games than a regular season. So over an entire regular season tacked on for these core players at the end of the season. And Tampa Bay has played 84 playoff games. So same with them. That's more than a full season tacked on to the end of their seasons too. So it's catching up. I mean, you look at the Panthers, they have Barkov out for the entire season with an ACL and MCL tear. Matthew Tkachuk, who was previously mentioned, out until December or January. They do have like Brad Marchand up there, Sam Bennett, Sam Reinhart. Like they have players that could definitely fill in and step up to a more prominent role, I guess. But Barkov's a two-way forward that you don't really want to lose out of your lineup. So I don't know that anybody would be surprised if they do make it, but I don't think anybody would be surprised if they don't. Also, I believe Vasilevsky is it looks like he's going to be sidelined for part of this start of the season, so we'll see how that ends up affecting Tampa Bay as well. Also, I'm not including 2021 Montreal Canadiens. Yes, they made it to the Stanley Cup final, but that was the weird year where all the teams in Canada were just their own division. So one of them was making it to the final four teams, whether it was any of the West Coast teams or not. So, um, and my fifth and final prediction for this NHL season is I think this might be Logan Thompson's year to win the Vezina. Like him or hate him, I have him as one of my top five goalies in the league currently. We always get the same names that are thrown around when it comes to the trophies. And for Vezina, I think there was three big ones that came to my mind first, and that's Connor Hellebuck, three-time Vezina winner, Sergei Bobrovsky, two-time Vezina winner, and then Andrei Vasilevsky. I think that's a pretty safe top three at least. And Vasilevsky has won it once, but he's been nominated a couple times. I think Logan Thompson's name belongs up there right now, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him win the Vezina this year. Last season, when it comes to the stats, Hellebuck had 63 games won, or 63 games played. He won 47, lost 12, had 3 overtime losses, had a goals against average of 2, just 2, and had 8 shutouts. Sergei Bobrovsky had 54 games played, 33 wins, 19 losses, 2 overtime losses, and a goals against average of 2.44 with 5 shutouts. And then Vasilevsky had 63 played, 38 wins, 20 losses, 5 overtime losses, with a goals against average of 2.16 and 6 overtime losses. Then Logan Thompson, 43 games played. So the least amount of games played by 11, but his record was 31 wins, 6 losses, 6 overtime losses, with a goals against average of 2.49, and he had 2 shutouts. He's only 0.05 higher than Bobrovsky's goals against average. He had 2 less losses than Vasilevsky and 11 less games. Or not Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky. So his numbers are up there. I think he's going to get a big portion of the starts for the Capitals this season. I'm thinking probably 10 or so more starts, so somewhere between the 50 and 55 range for him. And here's a big factor into this whole thing that I don't know that anybody's going to be taking into consideration. Logan Thompson was left off of the Four Nations roster for Canada last year because of supposed rifts between him and Peter DeBoer and Bruce Cassidy from their times in Vegas. And they have the same coaching staff and the same like front office that they had for Four Nations picking the Olympic team. So why would we assume that Logan Thompson's going to the Olympics when he missed last season's tournament? So this could be a 3-week stretch in February where he just gets to, recuperate from any injuries or just soreness that he's going to be feeling. So at the end of February, he could come back and be like a brand new goalie ready for the second half of the season. So this could be that year that he just takes that step and is like, I can do it all. Let me know what you think your predictions are down in the comments. Let me know what you think of my predictions. Maybe you're like, oh, you have no idea what you're talking about. Fair, but just let me know. All right, until next time.